Welcome to another episode of the Food Marketing Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Holden Rouse. Today we are diving into the crunchy world of extrusions and inclusions with a very special guest. Alongside me is my co-host, Doug Resh, who is ready to add in his expertise on all things food marketing.
That's right, Holden. This introduction sets the stage for an engaging and informative episode with details of food textures and flavors. I can't wait to learn more about irresistible, crunchy, and creative bits that transform our everyday foods into unique experiences.
Joining us is Kyle Gibson, who we have the pleasure of speaking with today. Kyle is currently serving as a technical sales manager from CII Foods. Kyle comes with expertise in the elements of these tiny creative components that make a big impact in our food. So whether you're munching on your favorite cereal bar or savoring that creamy ice cream with the perfect cookie dough bite, you've likely encountered Kyle's handiwork. So let's dive into some savory questions. Kyle, we are thrilled to have you here and share your insights on these crunchy topics. Let's get started talking about science.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is exciting. We're happy to have you here. So Kyle, could you give us a taste on what CII Foods is all about and how you've become a favorite in the industry?
Sure. So, first and foremost, we are a value-added extrusion company, starting primarily out on what you discussed with different flavored and different colored and size inclusions that can be in a variety of baked items, bars, cookies, cakes. And so that's where we started. And then we branched out into crisps, texturized proteins, as well as snack type pieces. But I think really we would be amiss to not go back to how it all started. And for us, CII Foods, we were a company that was established in 1990 from our founder, Mr. Robert Hatch. And that is really a good starting point because not only was he already in the industry prior, he was working at interstate bakeries, but he was also a philanthropist. And so before even starting CII Foods, he started this company or this foundation called FINCA. And it stood for the Foundation for International Community Assistance. What he saw was when he was traveling around the world and getting an understanding of people's situations, he saw that those that were either less fortunate, living very close to the poverty line, would never be able to bring themselves up out of it because they lacked the assets or the actual collateral to be able to qualify for loans to build their businesses. So he created the system of microfinance. And what it does is it has all of the individuals within the community pool their resources together and they can apply for these microloans. And in doing so, the way that they can guarantee that they get paid back is everyone is responsible for watching over the other one to making sure that it gets done. So from that is how he then transitioned into starting CII. But the amazing thing with FINCA is that now this program has grown into 45 different countries, 5 different continents, and has a loan portfolio of somewhere around $630 million. So those types of integrity-driven and helping the community really inspired his creation for CII Foods in order to fill gaps in the market and provide food products that can better the consumer.
I love that. I've always enjoyed stories on how the founder will take a purpose mission and then drive it into something within the food area because everyone eats and everyone needs good access to good food.
I agree. And
Exactly.
part of that process is there's this fascinating world of extrusions, right? And I think CII Foods works in that realm when they work on the knowledge. Can you share some of the knowledge, I guess, that CII Foods comes with techniques shaping around the future of food and the processing that CII Foods has around extrusions in and of itself?
Sure. So, when I look at extrusion, there's such a variety of products that can be made with it. And at CII Foods, we have 7 different production lines in our Leavenworth, Kansas facility. And within those lines, we have the capability of just creating so many different aspects that can be delivered into final products within the food industry. We have a full innovation team that works with our customers to not only, provide the products that they ask for, but then help to improve upon them as well. So a lot of what we do is collaborate with our customers as well as deliver on new ideas that will further drive their business into consumers and create products that consumers might not see on a regular basis, but then will be drawn to continue to consume and purchase and keep that line going.
That's interesting. So with all of the manufacturing facilities that you have, or the lines, right, that you've identified, what's your role in terms of the technical sales manager role? I know you come from an extensive background extrusion as well, so you talk about a little bit about that.
Sure. So, starting out, my journey started in R&D. So I used to run 50 millimeter extruders and do everything from serial development, crisps, texturized proteins, the full gamut. What my role is now at Serial Ingredients is because I have that understanding. I work as almost that bridge between our customer and my own internal R&D team. And it's very important because I think one of the aspects of R&D is that we love to create and we love to understand what a customer needs and wants, but we may not always be the best at communicating that. And so what I've grown to be able to do as a technical sales manager is take the knowledge that I have and speak to customers on the level that they'll be able to understand and comprehend what we are trying to deliver to them. Not everyone is scientific and not everyone necessarily understands the nuances that go into it, but the biggest portion of my job is creating that relationship with our customer so that I can then communicate to my R&D team what they're looking for and vice versa. And then going forward, helping to drive these projects forward with my team and all the support that I received, because the team I work with, I would not be able to get half of what I get done without them. They truly do a lot of the work and they support me beyond belief. So that is really my role of trying to drive new projects forward and establishing those relationships with our customers so they want to continue to work with us. It's very important of how we work with our customers, specifically on the integrity and the transparency of what we do here at CII Foods.
No, that's really good. I've always enjoyed stories of people that really work well with the team and everyone's happy and they're actually accomplishing a lot and growing a business. So actually, I'm sure you worked on so many different products with extrusion, and extrusion's also labeled as like the Swiss Army knife of food processing. Are you able to share an instance on where this versatility was a game changer for a product at CII Foods?
Yeah, I think one of the things I want to bring up, and it's kind of one of the areas where we first got started at, was previously I spoke about our founder, Mr. Robert Hatch, and we started CII. He started as a means of delivering products to consumers, but also trying to find gaps in products or things that were missing. He came from the bakery industry. And so one of the big things we do is we actually are able to produce cinnamon inclusions. And this might seem like a very basic item until you realize why it's so important. So within the baking industry, if you're trying to make a cinnamon bread, you're trying to make a swirl bread, or you're trying to make anything that contains cinnamon, cinnamon is a natural inhibitor of yeast, or basically leavening. So by taking this cinnamon and compressing it into a cold form inclusion, we've not only given it a stable shelf life, so it can be stored at ambient temperatures, but we've also given the bakery the ability to add this product into their dough and still maintain the leavening factor. And so that was really what kind of started and drove a lot of these inclusions at CII. And it's processes like that, whether it be incorporating different types of fruit powders into our inclusion, so you can still have a real fruit claim, but maybe not have the acidity that would also have some inhibitions in what you're trying to run. Or even the incorporation of being able to provide a high dose of protein into a bar, but still have it be a lighter density, right? Because no one likes to bite into something that's super heavy or feels like it's just this mass that you're trying to chew on. You want something to be light and airy and still have that delivery of nutritional value. And so really, extrusion gives us some of those abilities, and there's always so much more to learn. And I think that's what really is impactful in what we do.
They're the problem solvers of the food industry, right? Which one's your
We try to be.
Which product's your favorite?
So, well, my job title is technical sales manager for plant-based products. So I think I have to say that in general.
Nice.
But I do very much. I don't think I necessarily have a favorite product, and the reason I say that is because a lot of what we do at CII is just very unique. We market ourselves as a custom manufacturer for inclusions, crisps, texturized proteins, and most recently, our new facility, we can do now granolas and clusters. But because we have that versatility, it's always something new and unique that we can provide to a customer. And I think that's, for me, that's actually the fun and the drive of doing the job, because we have so much that we can pull from within our toolbox of items, and even making new things, that everything has a purpose and everything can be suited to a customer's needs.
So you talk about customers' needs and a little bit around bakery, cereal bars, right? All these inclusions. Let's talk a little bit about scale of that, right? So how does the consistency in quality, this taste, you have scaling up of extrusions that need to happen through the processes of getting ready for mass production in these categories. How does CII Foods, and how do you come about going into these manufacturing facilities and working on this consistency of quality and taste?
Oh yeah. So it really starts in R&D. So if it's something we're developing for a customer, we can go the route of producing samples, so smaller 1 to 2 pound samples for a customer to test. We produce those on our R&D extruder, so anywhere from a 28 millimeter to 32 millimeter extruder. But we really prefer our customer to come in to the lab. We always encourage that, to work side by side with our team. It does two things. It allows us to really showcase our production facility. We very much enjoy that. We think very highly of our facility. And then it also allows our customer to get more of a relationship with our R&D team, and really allow us to understand what they truly want. Now, once that's all established, we would then go and run a plant trial based on all the data that we received from the initial trials, all the feedback that we have from our customer. And then we would take that to a larger piece of equipment on our production floor and start out relatively with those settings. Now, it's not always going to work, okay? Like let's be honest. But our main job in the R&D stage is to try and run this product with enough knowledge of how things work in production to ensure that we'll be successful. And so once that's done, we run in the production, and we get a product that is hopefully a match, or at least very similar to what we received in R&D. I say similar because within production, there's always some slight changes. The machinery is bigger, there's more energy, you're running at a faster rate. So you have to account for that. Once that's agreed upon, then we go ahead and we go into actual production. And with that, we monitor the product for about 3 more runs, and we collect all the data so we can make sure that all the specifications we put in place line up with what we've done with R&D. And in order to do that, we have a fantastic quality team. They are running checks on this product on the lines. They're taking everything from densities to color readings to hydration ratios to water activities. We do have a LAB in our lab, so we can take specific color measurements to make sure it's within the bounds of what's required. And that's really how we make sure and control the consistencies of what we're doing. With every company, they all have quality teams, and they are really that first line of almost defense to make sure that what we're putting out the door is going to align with what our customer has requested and developed with us from the start.
I think I can attest to the fact that from a previous employer that you and I have worked side by side with, there's many challenges along the way when it comes to heat and extrusions and I know
Yeah.
you're one of the best in the industry for that reason. So thanks.
Now, I want to take things a step back from scale up. I want to go from concept to consumer.
Okay.
How's that process like? What's the journey? And what are some of the key considerations for each stage?
Sure. So, it's kind of twofold. We work with customers where we present ideas to them on something that we may have identified within their product line and say, hey, we've been working on something. This might align with what you currently have, and you might have an ability to branch off. Or the consumer may come to us and say something very vague. Okay. So let's say, hey, I'm working on a cereal bar and I want a protein crisp. Okay, great. So from that standpoint, now there's a lot of questions, right? Okay, well, what kind of protein do you want? How much protein do you want? Are there any limitations? Can I use any kind of protein? What kind of density? How do you want to use it in application? Do you want it to be crunchy? Do you want it to be soft? Would you rather have an inclusion? So it's all these questions that eventually drill into a relatively final product. And it's important to ask all these questions, because the one thing we never want to do is I always like to talk to customers, and I always like to tell them, let's take the time and go through all these vital questions so that we're not wasting each other's time. And I say that because they are trying to drive their business and we want to support them. And the best way of doing that is going slow in the beginning so that you can then go much faster towards the end.
That's really nice. I like the different processes of making sure the customer knows exactly what to expect, because a lot of people in this industry, when they have an idea for a product, they haven't thought of each detail. So walking them through it every step of the way is the right way to do it.
I agree. And I think, one of the big things that as a marketing person, right, is talking about the consumer and driving taste, right? You have to have a product that tastes amazing, and otherwise consumers aren't going to enjoy that, right? So these inclusions that you're working on, they really bring out bland bites and kind of bring out this flavor explosion in the mouth, right? And so could you talk a little about, without giving too much of the secret sauce on proprietary information, but could you talk a little bit about developing these inclusions for great taste? How do you maintain integrity throughout that manufacturing process for either CII Foods or the manufacturer on the other side? There's a lot of nuances that go into that. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing with our cold form inclusions is that it really has a lot to do, two things, with the formulation of how we create the flour blend that will inherently be fed into the extruder, but then also the processing parameters. That's kind of that secret sauce of what allows us to make these items, and to your point, have them stand up to transport, whether they're moving throughout a system at another customer's facility. And with that, we have some abilities. So some customers say, hey, I would like an inclusion that holds up entirely through the baking process. So we can formulate that aspect. We can formulate to have some textural components where it might be kind of gooey after it's cooked. We do topical grinds as well that provide some crunch potentially to a product. And so truly it's the way that the processing is done within our extruder, and also kind of the know-how. There have been, and there are a lot of people on our R&D team that have so much experience with these types of products, and it's a full range. It can be, natural color, natural flavor. We can do organic products, non-GMO. We can do no sugar added. We can do just colors. If you want to just have something that delivers on the color but no flavor whatsoever, we can also do that. And it's really that know-how from the team to understand what the customer is looking for and then try to deliver on that. And that's something that I think CII really shines on is the experience, not only within the R&D team but also within production, and with the management team as well.
That's great. And I know you talked a little bit about texture, and I saw a report that Mintel released publicly on their Snacks and Sweets Expo, and how much satisfaction people are getting out of texture and the role of that within the consumer base, what they're trying to do. So could you talk a little bit about how CII Foods manipulates the extrusion process to create textures that consumers love based off of something like what we saw in the Mintel report and Snacks and Sweets Expo?
Yeah. So I think that's it's a really cool process as well, because when you talk about texture, it's not only about what the consumer's perception is of it, it's about what they are relating it to. So if you're making different products, we typically will look at a baseline of what we're trying to either mimic or be similar to. Because, and I'm sure, as you know, Doug, right, from a marketing perspective, you need to make sure that you're presenting in the right way so people know what to expect, right? And so with extrusion, we have the ability to make things very dense, to make things very hard. We have the ability to make them soft and light and airy. If you think of like a very light snack puff, from a texturized protein standpoint, we can manipulate the hydration ratios of them, so they might pick up more liquid component, which inherently delivers on harder textures or softer textures. Another thing people don't think about is the shape. We have the ability to change shapes of products, and the eating experience is different depending on if there's more surface area, depending on if it's a ball, if it's a stick, if it's a flat square piece. So having that ability to manipulate all of these aspects within a product really opens the door for innovation in what we can provide the customers. So yeah, that's to me, that's the great portion of what we do, because there's so much that we can do with these machines.
Yeah, I like that. And I think by talking about Mintel, I think we got to talk about another trend, but to us, it's more than a trend now. It's part of the new norm. It's better for you products. And I think, I want to know how CII Foods inclusions is not just about adding flavor and texture, but what are they doing in terms of making more nutritional inclusions?
Sure. And so I look at it as a couple of different areas. So inherently, when we speak of inclusions, it's a lot of the sweet products. It's a lot of things going to the baking bars. But I also look at crisps or direct expanded products as inclusions as well. Because now what we're seeing is we are seeing consumers being drawn to not only quick snacks, but as you mentioned, better for you snacks. So you can incorporate anything from high fiber pieces, not necessarily the main matrix of the product, but at least the incorporation of it as a topical. You can do protein products. You can also do a combination of both. We've also worked with a product called Slimbiome, and that is a type of probiotic. It's supposed to support gut health, keep your blood glucose levels fairly stable when eating it, and also provide a form of satiety. So it naturally helps out with food cravings. And there's actually been some studies done on it recently. I think the most recent one I saw was in 2023. And after having consumers do actual physical testing of it, they saw that there was some decent weight loss benefits from more just eating rather than having to take different types of drugs or things of that nature. So we're trying to do what we can to appeal to what consumers are looking for. But I think the biggest factor to this is no matter what we do, it's got to taste good. And I think that's something we touched upon a while ago, but it's so crucial. If it doesn't taste good, consumers are not going to eat it. I mean, they may want it, but they're not going to search it out. And so that's really the big thing that we try to focus on as well, is that great, this is a better for you product, but does it taste good? Because if it doesn't, no one's going to want to eat it.
Yeah, I agree. And you talked about a little bit about your love for plant protein, and that's your specialization in a way, right? So there's all this nutritional value, the enhancement of that, the profiles that need to occur. You have taste that is a big challenge here, right? Potentially. So how do you draw upon that without compromising the taste? Do you add flavors into the mix, or what? How are you working around that realm of taste?
So a lot of what we do from that standpoint, if we have the opportunity to incorporate more than just one protein, then we'll try that out. Inherently within the market, there are a multitude of proteins. They all have different flavor profiles. They all have different functionalities. And what's great with CII Foods is that we can utilize and pull from the full range. And so that might mean, hey, I might blend a couple different proteins together to create a product that's going to satisfy textural needs, but also flavor needs as well. I've worked with some customers where they've, looked at potentially adding topical seasonings to things as well to help round out the different protein deliveries. But ultimately, I think it's the ability to not be tied down to only one aspect of protein, but be able to pull from the ever-growing market of proteins and find what best delivers on what a customer wants.
Nice. I want to keep going on the plant-based proteins. I'm a snack guy myself. I want to dive
Okay.
into the plant-based protein crisps that CII Foods has to offer. Can you share a little bit on how that's revolutionizing the snack industry?
Yeah, I think, when I look at the word revolutionize, I actually see it more that our crisps, and it kind of lends to what I was speaking about before. Our crisps are included into products, and it gives access to consumers of potentially new proteins that they've never seen before, right? So within our industry, we always want to push out new products, but at the same time, the strongest tool we have is educating our consumer. And if we're able to make something that they may have never seen before, or a type of protein they've never tried before, and they eat it, it tastes good. Well, now their thought process has begun to change on whether or not I will seek out a plant protein product again. And so for me, what we do to kind of provide difference in the market is the education of being able to provide these different proteins that people now have knowledge and they understand what it is. And now they're going to start researching it, maybe if they care more about what they're eating, and it'll draw them to other items. But taste is always king. And I know I've said that a lot, but I think especially nowadays within the plant-based space, people that are entering into this market are becoming more aware that you have to have a good tasting product for it to succeed.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it all ties back into that better for you revolution, right? Same word. I think the snack industry is changing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to see that CII
Absolutely.
Foods is leading it.
I would agree.
Thank you.
Kyle, you talked a little bit earlier about a term TPP, right? I think one of the things that we've seen is that TPP in the food ingredient space is becoming more prevalent. We're hearing more and more about that. And could you, I guess, give our audience a little bit of an insight of what TPP is and how CII Foods is leveraging TPP? I think really to innovate the market, and there's so many categories that can go into. So you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so for us at CII Foods, we categorize TPP as texturized plant proteins. Now, depending on who you're speaking with, there are those that will classify it as a texturized pea protein. But for us, we lean in on the plant protein side, primarily because I had spoke about before. We can choose from so many that it's a easier term to group everything under, because it would be a plant protein. Now, in regards to how we are utilizing it, I mean, we spoke about different textural components and what extrusion does to change those. The same is true for texturized proteins. I think in the beginning, a lot of plant-based, let's say plant-based meat items, lean more into doing like the plant-based hamburgers, which I think it was a way of introducing it into the public that is very familiar and is easy to kind of present to someone. Now, those products still absolutely have a place, but what's very interesting now is now people are looking to see what else they can do with it, right? So, and that starts to look at different sizing, different shapes, different hydration ratios, whether or not you might grind it down to something that's smaller and utilize it to mimic, any type of muscle-bound meat. But then also it's taking these texturized plant proteins and really going about the innovation process and saying, okay, well, inherently this product has always been flagged for this market, but could we use it someplace else? And I think that's what we're going to start to see within this plant-based space is branching out on the texturized plant proteins and starting to incorporate them in places that inherently we didn't probably think they should go. Maybe it's in baking, maybe it's in dairy or ice cream, maybe it's in granolas or clusters or even sweet products. Who knows? But I think that is the direction that things are going, and I think that's the direction we need to go. We at CII try to innovate, and it's, for me, innovation is taking products that inherently might fit in one market and trying to see, okay, well, could we put it someplace else and create something that's new and unique that a consumer will take a look at and say, oh man, that's different. Let me try that. That seems really interesting. And if it tastes good, nail it. So
yeah, I think that's the TTP. It's staying ahead of the trend. It's being ahead of the game. And I want to touch on consumer preferences, just because we're the food marketing mindset. We got to touch on some marketing a bit.
okay.
How does CII Foods stay ahead of the trend in the game?
Yeah, no. So that's a really great question. A lot of what we try to do within our sales team, within our R&D team, is we try to be very present within the food industry. And when I say present, I mean a lot of the local IFT shows. We try to attend and or present at them just to make sure that we are in the mix of individuals as well as customers that are also presenting. We go to the larger shows as well. Your Natural Product Expo West, your Supply Side West, your larger IFT shows, Sweet and Snack Expo. We also attend the let's see here. We also attend Plant-Based World in New York, and two aspects: one, to showcase what we've done, but also so we can walk the floor and have conversations and see what's new in the market. Because our unique ability to be a custom manufacturer relies also on us being able to source custom ingredients. So if we're not out there learning about what's out in the industry, we're not doing our customers justice as being a solution provider.
I think that's a big point. And I think, when we look at inclusions as more than a process, right? And just really as a philosophy in general, and looking at these trends, the consumer trends and textures, et cetera, you're looking at what type of products can be inclusive of a wide array of dietary needs and preferences. So how does CII Foods cater to those in itself?
So, I think it's really looking at a few different avenues, right? So a lot of times it might be dietary restrictions. Okay. So we try to look at products that may have more of incorporation of fibers or proteins. We also make sure that we carry different certifications within our facility. So we are our organic certified facility. We are halal, we are kosher, and so that can help from an inclusive perspective on those that may only consume a certain type of food product. We are able to get certain vegan certifications on some of our products as well. And I think it's staying up to date with understanding what consumers are demanding in order to adhere, to what they're really looking for within the market. Now, like I said, we tend to get more certifications for those in the minority, but I think that's shifting. I truly think that, people are leaning more heavily into organic products. They're being more conscious of what they're eating. They want to see cleaner labels, and I think that's going to create a shift within the food industry to almost make us better in some regards. It won't be easy, but that's what the consumer has asked for, and it's up to us to align to that or not be relevant, and that's just not an option for us.
Yeah, that's good. I like that answer. So Kyle, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. I want to wrap it up with what's the secret sauce that CII Foods has to offer? What makes you different from the market? And then what exciting new flavors or techniques can we expect in the future from CII Foods?
Sure. Okay. So I think first and foremost, one thing that really sets us apart, in my opinion, is the way that the entire team conducts themselves. I really do think those principles of integrity and transparency and customer forward approach translate throughout the entire team. We try to build very close relationships with our customers and rapport, and we try to be as honest and transparent with things, good or bad. Because what I found is that when you're able to have that relationship with the customer where they know that you will be entirely honest with them if things are good, and if things go bad, then they're more willing to work with you because they know that you have their best interests in mind, and they're not going to lead them down a path that will eventually have issues. So that's first and foremost, and I say that across the sales, the R&D, our quality teams, the regulatory teams. We do our best to meet the needs of our customers. From a innovation standpoint, I would be amiss not to mention our brand new facility. So our main extrusion facility is in Leavenworth, Kansas. It's where we do the majority of our extrusion, but we also have a new facility in St. Joseph, Missouri. We're very proud of. It has opened up the door for us to do granolas, clusters, and panned items. So if you think of like compound coatings for nut products or even maybe granolas, we have that capability now. And we have room to expand. We are in a point within CII Foods where we're making sure to build for the future. So at that St. Joseph facility, we have built it. So if we need to, we can either add more extruders to the facility, or we can add additional granola lines. But it's there. So in the event that something comes up, we wouldn't have to shut down any kind of line at our Leavenworth, Kansas facility. We could purchase an extruder, set it up in St. Joseph, Missouri, and keep on rolling. So that's something we're extremely proud of. And I think from an innovation standpoint, we're going to start leaning more into that facility, seeing what we can do, seeing what kinds of new products we can make that are still aligned to the better for you area, and try to really push out innovative products for what consumers are looking for and what customers are driving for.
That's great, Kyle. And I think it sounds like a follow-up episode is going to be in Kansas. The three of us sitting down talking about compound coatings, because we didn't even touch about that today, but we will in the future. We're going to do this again and sit down about and maybe taste some products as well in front of you. So
sure,
hopefully,
absolutely.
Yeah. So Kyle, thank you so much for being here today and really talking to our audience about the world of extrusions and inclusions, something that they probably may have not even heard of before. So maybe they learned something new today, and really the techniques involved. And so thank you so much for being on our show today.
No, thank you for having me. I very much appreciate it. I love talking about these things, and it's what's been driving my career. So So thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. It's been a fun episode.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that's a wrap on today's episode with Food Marketing Mindset. I'm Holden Rouse.
And I'm Doug Resh.
And a big thank you to the visionary food marketer who shared their secret sauce with us, Kyle Gibson.
Remember, the world of food marketing is everywhere. It's powerful and it's effective.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this podcast with fellow innovators. For more delicious content, follow us on our social channels and visit our website. Stay tuned for another serving of the Food Marketing Mindset, where your appetite for growth meets the taste of triumph. Stay seasoned, stay inspired, until we meet again on the next episode of Food Marketing Mindset.